Once you discover the difference La Rose Cosmetics has made, you will be thrilled. Behold a more beautiful you, exclusively at La Rose, West Bay.
We're here in the final segment of this special Issues of the Day program for radio and television, speaking about governance in the Bahamas. Around our table now we have the leader of the Progressive Liberal Party, former Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Perry G. Christie. We have the deputy leader of the party, Mr. Philip Brave Davis, who is the MP for Cat Island, Rum Cay and San Salvador. The chairman of the party, Mr. Bradley Roberts, and rejoining us is Senator Michael Halkitis. Let's begin with the leader of the party. Mr. Christie, the region is in trouble. Haiti is a basket case. Jamaica, as we speak, is almost in a civil war. Barbados and other Caribbean countries, they have debt servicing problems. The immigration door to the U.S. and the United Kingdom, that door is being closed. Young Bahamians are seeking opportunities, and they are saying that they are not being created in the Bahamas. Explain to our public, how is the PLP up to the task in giving these opportunities to Bahamians and running a fiscally sound Bahamas?
Firstly, the PLP government, historically, and the potential government that we will form after the next election, recognizes that all government policies must embrace the Bahamas as an island nation. That means, Mr. Jones, that governance requires you to recognize that every Bahamian is entitled to a share of the revenue, which means that your policies must be geared to protect the civilization of the Bahamas. You spoke about an urban pull. People being, or a rural push, people being pulled into New Providence and Freeport in particular, looking for jobs. The PLP government, when it came to power in 2002, based on the principles I just enunciated, moved immediately in recognition that Club Med, the most modern Club Med facility, was closed. That our predecessor government, the FNM government, had spent $38 million on a runway. There was no return to the people of the country. So we then incentivized the reopening of the Club Med facility. We provided funding to them by way of marketing, co-op marketing, and ultimately our funding fell away. But what we had as result was the first example of my anchor resort policy, where we had a modern facility opened. We had direct flights from Paris and United States of America coming into San Salvador. We had Bahamians, not only San Salvadorians, but Bahamians from all over employed there, and we had fishermen coming from Long Island and Spanish Wells providing fish, the linkages we spoke about. So we saw that, therefore, as a major component going forward. And so we then put two developments in Abaco, which are going today. We renegotiated the development in Bimini, which is going on. We brought in the GIN for West End. And just to show you the thinking of this, we knew, and I think I should have said earlier, that however much we debate the kind of economy the Bahamas must have, we must remember that civilizations that are thousands of years thrived and continue to thrive of tourism.
It is said, Mr. Christie, that you governed the Bahamas when the world was awash with cash. Wall Street was investing throughout the region. Hence, they were investing in these mega projects in the Family Islands, GIN, for example. The world has been in a recession.
No, Mr. Jones, when we came to power, the first act we had to do was borrow $125 million based on the fact that the Bahamas was just coming out of a recession impacted by 9/11. And the temporary shock that the country went through manifested itself in tourists who traveled to hotel rooms not traveling. And so the Bahamas was faced with a crisis. Unemployment had gone up to 10.8%, so the Ingram government was faced with a real challenge. And you see, my government then set about on one principle. I said that I was not prepared during my entire reign as Prime Minister to raise taxes. And I said to my government, let us use our industry and initiative to find new sources of revenue. And we did just that. At no time did we raise any tax whilst we were the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas between 2002 and 2007.
But you agree that you were governing during good times in the world.
We had to move unemployment
when people were investing.
Well, let's look at it. Unemployment was 10.8%. When we left office, we had brought it down statistically to 7.6%, but really, in effect, we thought it was 7.3%, and we were then telling the country we were on our way to reduce it to an irreducible minimum. We thought we had in place the confidence of the outside world. We had really, I thought, had inspirational policies that were calculated to cause employment and then to broaden and deepen the economy through diversification. So the whole issue of the Bahamas and how we managed it, I'm confident about one thing, that we had the right people in the right place. And you notice, it's no accident I have this young man, Halkitas, who was the Junior Minister of Finance, sitting at me at this table. That would suggest to you, or ought to suggest to you, the confidence I have in his ability, and persons such as Halkitas, who will be running in the next election, and who we have to empower with real positions going forward. Because you raised the question of a vision. And the one thing I am satisfied of, that we are producing young men and women who will run in the next election, who have not only come in with a vision, but they've come in with the energy and the zeal to commit themselves to rebuilding and reconnecting our economy in the right ways.
So you're going to get back to the vision thing, but Philip Brave Davis, you are the deputy leader of the party. And I want you to describe the last 3 years in our country, the governance in the last 3 years, and what it could have been if the PLP had retained the government.
Well, the obvious result of the last 3 years of government is evident in the social deterioration of our society today, the joblessness that is occurring and continue to occur in our economy. The government was visionless. Obviously, they took a gamble, and the gamble they took was to stop and review all of the initiatives that the PLP government had in place, and then to cancel them, thinking that what they met there, they met a country whose economy was booming, and they did not appreciate that policy would have impacted that boom. And then with that in mind, they then found themselves in the midst of a global economic crisis that aggravated the economic downturn of our economy.
But wasn't that a sensible thing to do, Mr. Roberts, to review the policies, the programs, the initiatives of a former government? For instance, the Ingram administration reviewed the project in Mayaguana, and I'm told that they have decided to take some of the land back. Isn't it sensible for a succeeding government to review the policies, programs of the previous government?
Mr. Jones, one of the things that I was taught in my political studies was that a government is continuous. Let me repeat that again. A government is continuous. A contract and an obligation entered into by a government should extend to the incoming government. What this government did, Mr. Jones, and the results of what they did is seen all around the Bahamas. It has ended in destruction of the lives of many Bahamians. It has indeed taken us backwards. And, Mr. Jones, that has had a negative, terrible effect for the Bahamas. The straw market is an example. They canceled the contract for the straw market. They said that the contractor who was awarded the contract had received the mobilization money, that he didn't have the experience, etc., etc. Well, that turned out to be a big lie. Because that same contractor today is a big contractor at the Linden Pendon Airport. It's the same one that the Free National Movement government gave a $25 million contract in Abaco. So this government has been a hit and miss. Every 1 minute